prime real estate. It's next to the world's largest trash dump, which serves New York metro area. So anyway, hey, guys, before we get started here, Ken Gibson, I put you to work quite a bit recently, but we have some newbies who think it's difficult to get a big flow of new students coming in the door. Can you give them?
Paul just had an event, right? I think Paul just went out and did a live event. So I love when you guys come right out of the gate and jump on that right away.
Absolutely, absolutely. Ken, give us some of the results you've had between the Avengers movie and some of the other stuff the last couple of months to give them an idea of whether it's hard or difficult to open the faucet.
I thought it was hard first too, and so I didn't try, and I waited too long. And then when I finally did try, it was a home run. So I went to the Avengers movie and set up a tabling. And the first day we had like 200 intros set, and then another like 100 and more the next day set for introduction appointments for people. With the Facebook campaign, you know, we have over, in the first month, we got 400 intros or inquiries, not necessarily intros, but we got 400 inquiries that we turned into introductions. And just the last 2 days, I've had 25 inquiries from the Facebook thing. So there's a lot that can be done. There's a lot, just start doing it. Don't be afraid. Even if you're afraid, because I was afraid and I waited too long to take action. But that's what we're here for. Step up and do it.
Well, and Ken, I think you might agree that myself, Master Smith, Master Moody, Mr. Dunn aren't shy about kicking everybody in the butt to get them to do it. Part of that whole value of being part of the team is being pissed off by the great results other people are getting and having our boot up your ass from time to time to get going.
You got to roll with the punches. They throw some punches here, but, you know, we're black belts. We take it, right?
Yeah. And I see Colby on here as well. Colby, we use some of your we still use your marathon from 2 or 3 years ago as an example. But add on to what Ken said as far as generating intro traffic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that I have that, actually, that marathon happens again this month, so we're doing that. But, I mean, that's what it's all about, right? I mean, you got to get out there and you got to do the work, right? You got to put the time in, and that's the only way you get the results.
Yeah, and correct me if the numbers are wrong, although I probably remember them better than you do. If I remember correctly, you got something like 180 leads, 150 appointments, a tick under 100 intros, and about 54 enrollments all in October from being at a marathon for 6 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
Which we laughed at you quite a bit about how hard you had to work to do that. I've heard numbers like that before, but never in 6 hours. That was that was pretty incredible.
I just remember being at the meeting and Colby was pissed off that he didn't get more people showing, and he was pissed off that he didn't get more results. And we're like, "What are you talking about? That was really good."
Yeah, he's pissed off that he only got 54 enrollments from 6 hours worth of work. Tell him about how December went after that, though.
Yeah, after December we did 200,000 that month, and I think we did 90,000 in cash. We did 200,000 total, including our receivables, right? Just for that 1 month, just for the month of December. So that was a Hawaii trip.
There you go. Yeah, you're another one who took like the entire family. And how long did you spend in Maui?
We were there for 15 days in Kauai.
Oh, in Kauai. Okay. Yeah, Master Smith took like the entire neighborhood and all of his extended family for 2 weeks to Hawaii. I think it was like 16 or 17 people. It's like, why the hell, you know, at least some of them could pay their own way. But Colby, when you started with us, which is probably about 3 years ago now, that sound about right?
That sounds about right.
You were doing what, about 30,000 a month?
Yes.
Okay. What's the last couple of months been like?
We've been right at about 60, to be honest, probably last 2 months, but we're ramping up for a real heavy end of the year. So we're shooting for 80 for November and December.
Okay. And by the tonality, you're pissed off. Before I yell at you, you're pissed off that you're only at 60 because you've been a little bit lazy. Probably riding the motorcycles a little bit too much.
That's exactly what's been the problem this summer.
Yep. Yeah. Well, I can identify with that since I have a Harley and a BMW in my garage, right? Actually, I had 2 BMWs and a Harley in my garage for most of the summer because I had Mark's K1250 in the garage as well. GS. So good. So 2 things we wanted to accomplish today, I think, including answer any questions that is simmering here. But one commonality of really getting the numbers up quickly is go add 100 new students at the right price point and jump your gross by 20 or 30,000 a month. And you know, I stole the concept from Gary Halbert years ago, but there's no problem that you have in the martial arts school that adding 20,000 a month by adding 100 new students won't solve, right? Greg, you and I just talked a few minutes ago, but you know, going from 15,000 to 35,000 pretty much solve every problem you have. And doing what Colby did, enroll 50 or more people from an event and then turning that into a tick under 100,000 cash, that would solve any other issues overall, right? So it really is pretty straightforward. Jimmy, what have you been grossing the last couple of months?
We're right around 40,000. We've been staying there pretty steadily. We've had our summer we lost a few students over the summer. Just it's standard, but we picked back up. It's around 40,000.
Okay, and again, we've got to get you jumped up to 80 now.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the last month was a little bit slow because I took a vacation to Spain and Portugal, and so we had 2 weeks to where things were just a little bit off. So.
Yeah, I would suggest that that just showed you a gap in staff training.
Yeah, exactly. The next level for you guys is when you're gone, that things still run good.
Right.
Yeah. It definitely should be something that that whether you're there or not, everything keeps the run pretty smooth. Because you don't want to structure your business so you can't ever take a vacation or heaven forbid be injured or have a family member who has some medical issues or whatever. You've got to have everything structured so that those things are in good shape regardless. Well, good. So we wanted to start with some back to basics things. And again, I'm going to start off with pretty much everything that we're going to talk about for the next 30 minutes. Everyone on the meeting should know. You should already be pretty good at it. It should be, like just a review. However, what we find, Master Moody with like Go to Karate, one of the things you do is you put a unique phone number and then the calls get recorded. And one of the things you're seeing with a lot of the schools that are generating leads through that method is that they're not handling the incoming phone calls very well, right? So let's spend about 30 minutes on just back to basics. How do you handle an inbound, not talking about outbound, but an inbound phone call? And what are some of the basics? And then we can shift the conversation to how to handle effectively an outbound call. But the first thing is, and this is an important writer downer because Bob will tell you most martial arts schools don't answer their phone. Even those that are pretty good have a skewed hour range that they answer their phone. So maybe they only answer their phone from 3 to 9, or they answer it from noon to 9 or something like that. Or some answer it from like noon to 3 and then classes start and they go back to voicemail. You want to make sure that your phone is answered by a human being. And I'm going to say 24/7. I want to have answered by one of your trained staff members or yourself from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday, all day Saturday, maybe into the evening and maybe even Sunday. On the hours outside of that is what I'd like to always see is I'd like to see a good live answering service, taking the phone calls from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. So even if somebody calls you at 1 a.m., there's somebody there to answer the phones, right? For many years, I tracked not only who was calling and what the source was and stuff, but I tracked when the calls came in. And we found that for the kids market, soccer moms called mostly between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. Okay. Now, think of there being two types of moms nowadays. Mom number one who doesn't work, which is the minority. Mom number two who does work, which is primary, right? And maybe mama number three who works and is a single mom supporting everything herself. But moms tend to call for lessons between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. We found the bulk of incoming info calls to be during that period of time. So what the dynamic was is they got an ad from Valpak or they had a neighbor's, who takes lessons or something like that. They have, the coupon or the information sitting on their desk. If they work, they drop the kids off at school, they go into work, they check voicemail, they check email, they check on any projects or meetings that are going on. And then basically they sit down at their desk and they do outbound business calls and they do outbound personal calls, right? The reason why they started naming Cyber Monday was people would go out on Black Friday and shop physically, and then on Monday they go to the office and they do their shopping online. So what happens is, especially in the kids market, if you're not answering your phone at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., you're missing a lot of inbound calls. Now, we want to go over scripting quite a bit, but one of the things I'll say in the new era with things, an app that I like a lot is called RingCentral. Now, there's a bunch of comparables, right? So there's a couple that are running ads on satellite radio and so forth, but I've used Line2 and I've used RingCentral. RingCentral is very comprehensive, but what it lets you do is this, is you can port the main phone number from the school into the RingCentral app. And then you can program the RingCentral app, something like this. From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., ring this mobile number and ring this mobile number, so that it'll go a couple different places. That way, if you have a program director, an instructor, and yourself, whoever answers the phone first gets it, right? Then you can tell it from 3 o'clock p.m. to 9 p.m., ring the landline at the school if you have such a thing, or ring this number, which is going, to whoever's sitting at the front desk or whoever's at the school. And then you can tell it from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m., go to this, which would be live answering service. Again, there's tons of them. One that I've used that I like is called Pat Live. If you go into the member site, there's a little box on the right with a girl holding a phone. You can click on that and set them up to use them if you want. What they do, what the live answering service will do, is you give them a script, and we've already got one that they should have on file, is they just, when your number rings through, they bring up a little computer monitor for the person who answers the phone. It's called Pat Live because every operator is dubbed Pat, right? So it's, male or female. And then they just follow the script for your school to try to make an appointment. But they're not going to be as good as you are. They're not going to be as good as a trained person. Don't use them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, but do use them for midnight, for Sunday afternoon, for times that you're not going to have a live person available to answer the phone. Does that make sense so far? So the starting point on inbound calls is answer the phone. The second piece of it is, I have found over the years the bulk of moms call in the morning. They just kind of knock out their list of what they're trying to do. With some of the online advertising with Google and Facebook, we're seeing a lot of traffic come in like late at night. People are sitting down, watching a show, watching the Tonight Show or something, and, putzing around on Facebook, respond to an ad or on Google or something like that. So you want to make sure that you're covered on all of that stuff. Is that making sense for everybody? So the next element on handling the phone, and I'm going to throw in an outbound issue as well. If whoever sets up your website, or if you're doing your own, or if Elite Digital is doing your Facebook advertising, if you get an online lead, all the stats are showing you want to respond to them while they're looking at the website or looking at the landing page. If you respond 20 minutes later, the ratios go down. If you go check your email at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and then start calling people, the numbers go down precipitously. And when I say go down, you may get 30% of the response you get by calling them immediately if you wait 20 minutes. And you may only get hold of 1 out of 10, best case maybe 1 out of 5, if you wait until 3 or 4 o'clock and then you go check your email and do it, right? So, you know, I want to make that point as well. On handling the call, you want to be on top of them and do an outbound call immediately. Is that making sense for everybody? So far, so good? Okay. Now, then let's go through the exact scripting of when an inbound call comes in, right? And by inbound call, I could mean they responded to an ad and they called you, or they walked in the front door. A walk-in and an info call is going to be essentially the same mode. What I will guarantee you, by the way, though, is if you have somebody whose voice isn't going to be recognized and they do cold calls into the school and play prospect and record them, all of the staff that you think is doing a great job, I bet you'll be shocked, chagrined, and terrified of how the incoming phone traffic is being handled. Is that making sense? So you really have to pay attention. So a couple more things before we get into the script. If the average enrollment, I'm not going to go explain the numbers too much, but if the average enrollment is worth to you $6,000, and if on average an intro, if you convert 75% of them, that now means that the average, what is that number, Master Moody? That's going to be like 4,500, more than that. 75% of 6,000, you get the idea, right? So if it's $4,500 what the average intro is worth, that means the average appointment that you made is going to be worth, let's say, $3,500. That means the average call that you got is worth like $3,000. Does everybody understand the ratios? I should be enrolling at least half, preferably more, of everybody who initiates a call to me should end up being students, preferably a higher percentage than that, okay? So if the average enrollment is worth $6,000, that means every time the phone rings, that's worth $3,000, okay? If you don't really drill that number in on your staff, what you'll find is your instructor's out in the floor and he's sparring, and he goes and he's in a huff and he's breathing hard, and an inbound call comes in and he puts him on hold and gets a phone number and tells him he'll call him back, and goes and finishes his workout and then calls him back, and then it turns into nothing. So the $3,000 call you got turns into a zero, okay? You'll have somebody else just kind of randomly pick up the phone and start just answering questions rather than handling the call appropriately and screw it up. You've got to understand that if you generate an inbound call, number one, there was a big expense in getting them to call. But number two, that person is worth $3,000 or more. When they call, you've got to have all of your staff really know that they're not having two conversations at once. They're not out in the middle of the floor with a wireless phone trying to answer questions. They're not just randomly answering questions. They're getting in front, getting somewhere where they can hear. They've got a mirror. They're smiling to themselves. They've got appropriate body language, and then they're following the script. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, that's a very important thing. Master Moody, you had come prepared to go through some of the scripting. Do you want to do that, or do you want me to do that?
I'd be happy to do that, sir. I've got I have an infinite amount of content, so we can do as much time as you want, but I would figure we only do 20 minutes or whatever you'd like to do. And I'd like to say a couple things to add on to what you'd say in terms of structure of the training. You know, to me, it's a cardinal sin not to have this down perfectly because of exactly what you said. I mean, this is free money you're throwing away if you don't do this right. It's just giving money away. The hard work was, and we've tried to teach you guys it's not really that hard to get a flow of leads coming in. But what we find all the time is the thing that people come to us saying, well, all our problems would be solved if we get more new members. And we solve the problem of getting the leads in, and getting the phone calls generated and getting the people, there, but then we drop the ball when the phone rings. And that to me is like a knife in my heart when I listen to these calls like you're talking about that are just handled so poorly.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the other things that needs to happen along those lines is the phone call script. I mean, I have one sitting by my phone, even though I'm not answering the phone. The phone call script needs to be, first of all, you need to have one. And we provided a few versions of it. Mine I posted last week. Some of you guys, if you looked at the Facebook page today, I said download mine or have yours available. I don't know. I'm not looking at the group view of everybody, but anybody have? Okay, Ken's got his. Ken is one of the ones. Anybody else got theirs with them? Okay.
There you go.
Ken Gibson's staff.
Yeah.
So, and he's the one that's, kicking some butt there. So I don't know if the rest of you guys, if you're sitting at your desk, if it's not within reach of any phone in your office, again, a cardinal sin. My staff would it wouldn't exist in our culture not to have the phone script just immediately next to the phones. So that's something that should be on your list to solve right away. Colby, I don't know if you're listening, but is your script right there by the phone there? No. Okay. Cardinal sin. I mean, to me, that's something that's got to be solved immediately. So you need a script. The idea behind this isn't that you guys literally memorize this and are able to answer. Now, you could have it memorized, but the idea is that this is part of your training tool, and it's to write down all the information that you're getting from the person.
Yeah. Let's not let anybody misunderstand what you said, though. Is every piece of the scripting for any sales process should be just like teaching your staff to perform in a Broadway play. They memorize the script, and that's the starting point. That's like if you're going to do a form, you memorize the 42 movements. That doesn't mean you've mastered it. That just means you have the starting point, you have it memorized, right? So you have to memorize it. Then you have to go through on pacing, body language, tonality, etc. Then you've got to role play it with another human being and do that until it's internalized and it's comfortable, right? And my description is I should be able to wake up any of my staff members at 3 a.m. and say, ring, ring, and they can do the info call script verbatim, groggy after a hard night out or whatever it might be, because it's so ingrained and internalized. Right?
Well, and I agree with what you're saying, sir. At the same time, the script also needs to be next to the damn phone.
Oh, absolutely. I'm not taking anything away from that.
Yeah. Both of those things need to be true. So the script before anything, everybody has to have the script next to their phone on a clipboard, ready to go, pens there, so they can go. So for example, my staff would forward the phones to their cell phone during the day so they can answer the calls, so they get the best answer. They would just have a clipboard with the phone script. And we pad these up. This one isn't 3-hole punch, but they would have them 3-hole punch so that they can put them in their book so they have them ready to go. So when the calls come in, they can just take them out, and all the information that they need is right on the phone script. Yeah. But let me give you a training schedule. And this is the training schedule to kind of follow up on what Master Oliver's saying. This is the training schedule that they use. So number one, the training schedule is when a new person comes in, and if anybody isn't training on their phone script, they, freely admit I stole the last one from Master Oliver. I thought it was a great idea to just hand write out the phone script. If you're a new person, we hire you tomorrow. Or for some of you guys, if you've never even done a phone script before, grab one of ours. You can just use that, change the name of the martial arts school from Karate Built Martial Arts to yours, and then you just use it. Just hand write it. Just hand write it out. That's how you start training it.
Yeah, and by the way, Master Moody, to explain that is, that comes from my staff training 25 years ago. But I would always just give them back then a VHS cassette tape, a video, and send them with that and make them go through and transcribe it verbatim and then memorize the script verbatim, right? And by the way, the current version of that is I go through every step of this process live in that Complete Fill Your School program, which MP3 and video are on the QuickStartMember.com page, and you should all have the DVDs and the CDs. If you don't, let Bob know, and we'll ship you another one. So you could just give your staff that and have them go transcribe it and memorize it.
Yeah, I don't know if the phone script is on that.
I believe we did, but I may be mistaken.
Yeah, I'm not sure. If it isn't, then that's fine. We got them on the Facebook group.
Yeah.
But handwrite it out. So they literally, I don't know if you remember school when you took notes. I never looked at my notes. You just handwrite out the script so they can have it on paper. They could have it however you have it. They handwrite it out and they just turn it in. We have a test for it too. They have a literal test, and I posted the test as well. The second way we train on it is just repeat after me style. So we train on it and we just answer the phone. In our case, and I'll show you guys in a second, but it would be Karate Built Martial Arts, Karate for Kids, how may I help you? And then the person would repeat it exactly the same way. We don't practice like it's a live call until they practice saying it out loud and we practice tone. So for example, let's have somebody be my partner. Who wants to volunteer to be my partner? Somebody volunteer.
Ken would love to.
I was gonna, but Ken's already been really good. Okay, Ken, you're my partner. Okay, so Ken, you're my partner. So this is the way the first level of training works. Karate Built Martial Arts and Karate for Kids, how may I help you?
Karate Built Martial Arts and Karate for Kids, how may I help you?
Great, my name is Greg Moody. Who am I speaking with?
Great, my name is Ken Gibson. Who am I speaking with?
I didn't trick you. You didn't say Greg Moody. Nice job. Is this for you or for someone else?
Is this for you or for someone else?
Great, how old are you?
Great, how old are you?
That's a terrific age to start.
That's a terrific age to start.
Nice job. Okay, so we would do that back and forth through the whole thing. What we're practicing is memorizing the script. We're working on tone. Now, if he does a lousy job and he's reading, you know, and he goes, that's a terrific age to start, then we maybe repeat those lines a few more times till we got that down. That's all we do. It's just like practicing your form, as Master Oliver said. It's just like normal training. That's the thing. There's not really magic to this. It's doing it like you would normally practice.
Well, you're doing it just like you were learning a sidekick or learning whatever grappling move.
And you do
over
it
and
enough,
over.
and you do it enough so you get it down. Then the next, after you do that enough, so you've got that down, and we might do a 20-minute training, and at least during a 20-minute training, I'll do repeat after me style, at least so they do it a couple times. If I'm doing longer, I might do it more, just so that they get used to it and they get the flow of it. And then we do collar style. And the key thing here is, and where a lot of people mess up when they're training is, you've got to do it with no objections. And by the way, your sales training's got to be this way too. Everybody's stressed about price and objections, and you get so emotional about it. When you train, it's just like training to fight or spar. You don't go training the first time and then punch everybody in the face and knock them down bleeding when they're white belts. You don't do that. You train people so that they learn with a very safe environment and they get good at it. And then they start, guess what? Most of the time you don't have a lot of issues and they get confident. And when you do this, most of your calls work out just fine. 95% of them work out just fine, and you don't have problem callers. If you train with a lot of objections, then you end up having a lot of objections. So this is the way it would work. So Ken, you can be my partner again. I should probably pick somebody else next time. So Ken, it's going to go like this. You're just going to be the caller. Okay, real easy because you don't have the script. Next, and then we'll do it with your script, and then we'll see how good you do. So you got to say ring, 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 ring.
Ring, 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 ring.
Karate Built Martial Arts and Karate for Kids. How may I help you?
I wanted to find out about classes.
Great. My name is Greg Moody. Who am I speaking with?
My name's Ken.
Is this for you or for someone else?
For my son.
Well, who? What's his name?
His name is Kai.
How old is he?
He's 7 years old.
That's a terrific age to start. And then I would go on with the rest of the script. So I won't take the time to do this now, but we just do it like this. Everything goes smooth. There's no objections. Now I will make one modification to this, and now we're going to let him do his script. I always start this. I said no objections. I always start this with one modification. I always have them ask price first because the price objection is always ignore. We just ignore price when we start this. You just get used to it. So I desensitize the staff on price objection. So when we say no objections, we just make the common objection price, and you just get used to ignoring it. So let's just do. I'll be the you be the caller again, and you ask about price, however you like to. I'm waiting.
Ring, ring.
Ring, ring.
Karate Built Martial Arts and Karate for Kids. How may I help you? You got to unmute yourself the whole time, buddy.
Hi, I wanted to find out about pricing.
Great. My name is Greg Moody. Who am I speaking with?
This is Ken.
Is this for you or for someone else?
It's for my son.
What's his name?
His name is Kai.
And how old is he?
He's actually 2.
That's a terrific age to start. And then I would go on. Now he's 2. I don't really take 2-year-olds. I'm still going to now he's making it more complicated, right?
Yeah.
So let's understand the training. This is what your staff will try to do. They'll throw curveballs. He gets a little bit yelled at. We're not throwing curveballs now. We're just doing no objections. So we're going to do it again. Ken, we're not supposed to do that. We're going to try it again. I don't want to put curveballs in because right now he's learning and I'm learning to do this correctly. So let's do it, then we do it again. So now you're going to do your script. And whatever your script is your script. It's fine right now, unless I tell you it sucks. Okay, go ahead. So ring, 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 ring.
Pouncing Tigers, how can I help you?
Yeah, I want to know how much your classes cost.
Great. My name is Ken. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Fred.
Hey, Fred. Are these classes for you or for someone else?
For my kid.
Great. How old is your child?
He's 12.
Perfect. That's a great age to start. What's his name?
Boris.
Boris. Has Boris ever done martial arts before?
No.
Oh, well, if you don't mind my asking, what specifically do you want to accomplish with martial arts?
Okay, so good. Everything he's doing is really good right now. And we would go back and forth and do this until we got it down. Now, we would role play this for a long time. We wouldn't do this. We would do this back and forth. We would do this with other people. And then if you look at the training schedule, that I do, then I would always do some sort of weird activity like games. The one I did it at one of the Colorado events, is I'd throw something at people. So I'd stand in the middle of a circle, I'd be the caller, and I would throw an object, it's like a ball if I had it, at somebody, and they would have to answer. They'd throw it back to me when I was the caller, and then I'd throw it to somebody, and they would have to answer, and then they'd throw the ball back to me. So it would look kind of like this. I'm gonna pick on some people. Okay, everybody's ready. Oh, I didn't do it right. There we go. I'm going to go back to the, let's see here. I gotta unshare the screen. So now, Ken, you're going to be my partner, and let's see who else is going to be good. Let's see, Jack DeSouza is going to be a partner, and then, because he's a higher level guy, and then Colby, you're going to be a partner. Okay, so Colby's going to be a partner. So first it's going to be Ken, then it's going to be Colby, and then it's going to be Jack. So it'd be like this. You guys ready? I volunteered you. Colby, it's going to be Ken, Colby, Jack. Ken, Colby, Jack, okay? So it'd kind of go like this. Let's see how this blows up in our face here. So I'd say ring, 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 ring.
Well, there's no hour here. How it blows up in your face.
Well, I know. Our meaning Ken, Jack, and Colby too.
Okay.
They get to be on the spot. So Ken first, then Colby, then Jack. Remember who your order is. So ring, 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 ring.
Pouncing Tigers, how can I help you?
Yeah, I want to know how much your classes cost.
Is this for you or for someone else?
Yeah, it's for my son.
Great. How old's your son?
My son's 6.
Have they done martial arts?
No, now it's Ken's turn.
I'm sorry.
Great. What's your son's name?
He's Fred.
Have you taken martial arts before?
No, I haven't taken martial arts before. I was calling about Fred.
Has Fred taken martial arts before? I'm sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It was Jack's turn now.
What
At that point, they blew it. So now they all have to do push-ups.
Burpees.
Okay. So they didn't get it right. So they'd have to do push-ups. It's a little harder on this because nobody knows who has the ball. So that's kind of how the training goes. Now imagine this is kind of over a half hour, and that's how training goes. Guys, you got to train just like martial arts. This is the same exact process. Now the next stage then is objections. And so now let's talk about price objections. Price objections are, let me go back to the training schedule real quick. So the next stage would be objections only. So how do we do objections only? Then we talk about objections only. And price objections are really simple, and we have it on the back of the script. Not because they generally flip it over, because they really need to have the price objection memorized. Did everybody get to see how ignoring it the first time really has no effect? There's no effect whatsoever in ignoring price objections the first time. Many people ask about price. They're asking about price because they really just don't have anything else to ask about when they call about martial arts. If you're doing your marketing right, they know that your $49 special or your 2 weeks free, there's a cost afterwards, and it's probably not 49 bucks. So they might ask about price. That's a normal, reasonable thing, but it really isn't reasonable because they don't know anything about you. So they're often going to ask about price. Don't stress about it. This is such a good way to desensitize your staff about it if you practice enough. So if you do this, and you can call my school if you want. You look at karatebuilt.com and look at the, well, I'll give you the direct phone number to the Cave Creek School. I can publish it on the Facebook page. You're welcome to call one of them and see how well they do. If they don't do a good job, feel free to tell me, because then I'll yell at them. And then they get more phone script training like we're doing now. But I'd be happy to let you call them. If you call and you deal with it this way, 90% of the time, you won't get a second price question if you train well enough about this. I want to survey people that are doing. Ken, your script's pretty good so far. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. Just sidestep it there and just
on the first time. And I wouldn't even use the word sidestepping. It just isn't really a reasonable question because they have no idea what they're buying. So in my mind, I don't even think I'm avoiding it. I say I'm just ignoring it because it's not relevant. So for everybody on the call that may be new to doing a script, because y'all didn't have the script next to your phone, because I noticed, I want to make a big deal out of this, that the first time you ignore price like we just practiced, the rest of that training probably doesn't even matter. Okay. The second time, most of the time, our guys will just ignore the second time. So it'll be something like this. Ken, you can be the caller. Just be the caller again.
Okay.
Ask about price a couple times.
Okay. Ring.
Karate Built Martial Arts and Karate for Kids. How may I help you?
Hey, I wanted to find out what your pricing was like.
Great. My name's Greg Moody. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, this is Ken.
Is this for you or for someone else?
It would be for my son.
Dude, I'm trying to help you out.
Oh, yeah. Man, sorry. But I really wanted to find out how much it was going to be.
Oh, well, how old is your son?
He's 7. But how much was the program again?
Well, okay. Let's go back and start over so it makes a little bit more.
That's just being an asshole.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It's okay. So now we're gonna do. So this is how you train on a little further price objection. Now your job is to object twice. Okay. So let's all kind of clean it up a little bit here. So we're gonna object twice on price.
Let me interject for a second, Master Moody. Is on price, and as you said, you always want to train and script the staff on exactly how to handle this. I always taught them this way. The first time somebody asks about price, just ignore it and go into asking questions, right? The second time we go into, well, we have as I had just explained or getting ready to explain, we have a special introductory offer. It's 2 weeks of lessons in a uniform for $24.97, whatever the offer is. That's going to give you a chance to come in, meet the instructors, see the facilities, learn more about the benefits of the program, right? So I'm just going to go to whatever the introductory offer is. And then the third time, which is pretty rare, is usually mom says, well, I don't want to bring him or her in and get them all excited if I just can't afford it, right? But that's usually like, it's unusual if somebody just keeps pestering you, right?
Here's when that happens, though. When you screw up the script, and you pause at the wrong times. And I don't want to stress everybody out here, but this is where you ought to be a little stressed. This is when it happens, when you do this. And if Ken calls me, this is when it happens. You do this. Ken, call me.
Ring.
Karate Built Martial Arts and Karate for Kids. How may I help you?
Hey, I wanted to find out about pricing.
Great. My name is Greg Moody. Who am I speaking with?
This is Ken.
Is this for you or for someone else?
This would be for my son. And I wanted to see what the pricing is.
Yeah, if I stop there and I don't ask the next question, then they fill in the blanks. So if you don't smoothly control the narrative, then they're going to ask something. So if I go down here and I'm like, well, have you taken martial arts before? And he says, yes, I took martial arts. And then if I don't really have the script well memorized, then you know, it's going to go something like this. Have you taken martial arts before? He says no.
No.
And then I go, and I'm slow on the next part because I haven't memorized it. That's when it invites people to ask about price again or schedule or something else. So to kind of follow up with what Master Oliver said, to complete the idea, in our script, there's question marks and there's ... That's when you stop. That's when you pause because you're asking a question and you're getting information. That's when you stop. And when you don't have those things, then you keep on going. So it's got to be something like this. You know, have you taken martial arts before?
Yes.
Oh, great. What style?
Hapkido.
Well, where'd you do that? Yeah, that one's a longer one. Most people don't say that. Let's say he said no. I'm just going quick.
No, I've never done it
How
before.
long have you been thinking about it?
Oh, just the last few weeks, but a long time.
If you don't mind my asking, what specifically you want to accomplish in a martial arts program?
I want to try to get back into shape and learn some self-defense.
See, if I do that and then I keep talking, you really don't get the price question because two things are happening. One is you're controlling the conversation, but you also sound like a professional. I'm very professional there. I'm getting relevant information that might determine what the price might be. So all this stress about price, a lot of people think, you guys might be thinking, yeah, but they all ask about price. They all really want to know. No, not really. They kind of just don't know what else to ask. And you all don't really, you stop too much in your script because you don't have a script. So if you do this, it kind of eliminates all that. Does that, hopefully that makes sense to you. And if you ask these kind of questions, it's very, very relevant in terms of the script. The next thing that you need to make sure you do in your script is, there needs to be a way you ask for the appointment. So, I mean, very clearly, a couple pieces here is, I have an opening today at 5 or 7. Which one's better for you? Now, here's a point. So I'm going to do this with Ken, since you're my guinea pig, Ken, and being a very good guinea pig, by the way. So I have an opening today at 5 or 7. Now, you go ahead and do what you think people usually do when I say this. I have an opening today at 5 or 7. Which one's better for you?
Let me see. What's tomorrow like?
See, that was too easy. Okay, what people usually say, you were being a good guinea pig. What we get a lot of is at that point is, well, I'm not sure. I'll have to check my calendar.
I got to talk to my wife first.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why don't we pencil you in for a time, and then you can get back to us if it doesn't work. So which one of those times would be better, or what would be better for you?
7 would be better at that point.
Okay. Well, I'll put you down for 7 p.m. tonight, and then you can check with your wife and get back to us if that doesn't work. Okay. Does that sound good?
Yeah, great. Thanks.
Okay, perfect.
And let me interrupt you here for a second. I apologize, but to keep on our timeline to get a few other things going, why don't we pick up from there next week?
Okay, perfect.
And Master Mead, I'm going to allot an hour to go through scripting and so forth next week. I'll be missing next week, by the way.
Well,
so.
can we challenge everybody between now and next week then to either have a script, if you guys do have a script, pull it out and look at it, make sure it's right, or adopt one of the scripts that mini scripts. I've got mine on there. You can pull out another one that we posted. Have a script ready to go. And I think we should pick up where we left off, and there's a lot to cover. This is really valuable. But my challenge for you would be, get the doggone script, print some out, have it by your phone, and by next week, then you'll have something for the call and be there for the call for this. This is really important.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So on that note, let me summarize a couple of things. When the phone rings for a prospect, your mission is not to answer all their questions.
Yes.
Frankly, your mission isn't to answer any of their questions.
Right.
Your mission is to control the conversation. Your desired outcome is to make an appointment for which they're likely to show up. Okay. One of the reasons that we keep really good stats is to know what our inbound call to appointment ratio is, but also know what our appointment to show ratio is. And looking at those two numbers, you can figure out if the phone call is being handled well or poorly, because what happens is, if you're pushy for an appointment without building good rapport, people will make an appointment, but then they don't show. On the other hand, if you're not doing a good job of controlling the conversation and just answering questions, you get people who say, well, I'll call you back when we're ready to do that, and they hang up without making an appointment, right? So if you have a crappy call to appointment ratio, it means you're not controlling the conversation. If you have a crappy appointment to show ratio, it means you didn't do a good job of building rapport and being friendly and asking questions and listening to the answers, right? So it's really important to have good stats on all of these things. So when you're training staff, you want, some people, when they do this to begin with, suddenly they like feel bad. Well, this person answered this question and I just kind of like pretended I didn't hear it and went over here. They've got to understand how the process works and memorize it. Also, you maybe have to explain a little bit. They're not asking the question about price up front because that's what they need to know. They're asking the question because they know nothing else to ask, right? So you want to always control the conversation, but the way you control the conversation is ask open-ended questions or ask a question and then finish it with asking another question, right? So you're always in the mode of controlling questions. When they throw a question at you that is off your script, you want to know what the answer to their question is, but then end with a question so you bring it back onto your script. Does that make sense? The thing that'll get staff screwed up, it seems like, sometimes is people start asking about what you teach or what style you teach and so forth. So you have to have the script for that. And and people get freaked out about answering questions about money. So you've got to have the script for that and the follow-up with that as well. Is everybody good with that? Hey, David, I see you're on with us now. David, you did that big live event last weekend. How did it go? I think you're muted. There you go.
It was really good. I think I got like 75 leads. I had probably about 50. I have the numbers in the office. About 50 show up for their follow-up. What I didn't do well was get them to sign up past the 2 weeks at that intro. I have a lot of people doing the 2 weeks free. I've had a few who have signed up past the 2 weeks. And it looks like the people who are coming for the 2 weeks are all going to sign up, but I would have liked to have gotten them signed up before, right away on that first intro class.
Okay. So what you got was 70 name, address, and phone number, more or less.
Yeah.
You're not looking at the exact numbers. 50 intro appointments, which by the way is a really good ratio there. Do you have a sense of how many of those 70 leads you made appointments for on the spot?
Almost all. They're probably about 15, probably about 60. I probably got about 60 appointments on the spot made for the following week.
So you've done a really good job on having a good show ratio. So that was really good. Now explain to me what you mean by you'd like them to sign up beyond the 2 weeks at the first lesson. What were you hoping to sign them for?
So what I offered was if they signed up to continue past the 2 weeks free on the day, then I would waive the $199 enrollment fee that they would have normally paid if they just do the 2 weeks and then decide afterwards.
Oh, okay. Did you do that in a group setting?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that I would perhaps tune and tweak about that is, one is do a 2 intro process, but at the first lesson, prep them to enroll at the second lesson. Okay. So are these mostly kids or adults or a mixture?
This was all kids because it was a kids event.
Okay.
So I focused on the kids.
Okay. And I'll throw in something as an aside, is when a child comes in for an intro, let's get mom and dad to take the intro with them.
Right.
Okay. But at the first intro, when you're rescheduling, and by the way, a lot of this format is you go to milehighkarate.com/second lesson. There's a page that has all this stuff and the handout and the scripting and so forth. You're welcome to go take a look at that. And everybody is. And I'll post it in the Facebook group. But what I would do is bring them in for the first lesson, prep them for the enrollment for the second lesson, which admittedly is a little bit of a juggling act when you have 50 intros come in in a week, right? But you want to schedule them where they're coming back prepared to enroll after the second lesson. And then you try to balance the second lessons. So maybe you're scheduling like 5 at a time, and then you're triaging them. Some will be rescheduled for a third. Some of them will be pulled out of class to enroll. Some of them enroll after the second class. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. When you say they're just coming in for the 2 weeks, with every intro who's been in once already, do they all have a follow-up appointment?
Yeah. So after they did the initial one, then I got a start date for the 2 weeks for when they were going to start their 2 weeks, the first group class that they were going to do.
Okay.
Is that
I don't mean to beat you up on language here, but let me hone it in a little bit, right?
Sure.
Is what I want to do is every intro is always being scheduled by appointment. Maybe what you're doing, I'm not sure I am clear on the language, but I don't want to ever give somebody a schedule and say, you're welcome to come in any of these times for 2 weeks, come on in, and then try to pull them out of class to enroll.
right?
Every time I want to be having a conversation, they're scheduled for an appointment. I remind everybody that Schedule Once app, and there's comparables. I just like that one. And it'll confirm the appointment with 4 texts, confirm the appointment with 4 emails to remind them. But then if you always have their next appointment scheduled, and then when you're scheduling their next appointment, you're prepping them to come back prepared to enroll at the following lesson.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
The first lesson as a private or semi-private or in with the regular class?
It was semi-private.
So it was a
Okay,
small group.
So it was it was a small group. It was just the kids who were at that event. But it was more than one family at a time.
Good. Yeah, that's all fine.
That's correct.
Yeah. But what you do want to do is prep them to come back ready to enroll. And by the way, you're not alone in the learning how to drink from a fire hose thing here. Colby,
Right.
you're probably the most experienced at that. Give them some thoughts, Colby Winkler. Give them some thoughts on how to drink from a fire hose when you get this big traffic going on here.
And it's a good question, but when you get that many leads, right? I mean, it's all about, for me, it was all about scheduling, right? So Schedule Once was huge for us, and I have a couple extra staff, so for me that was helpful, right? I have a program director that we were double teaming basically. He was doing lessons and I was doing follow-ups, and I mean, I don't know what exactly you want, but it really all comes down to keeping a good keeping track of it, right? I mean, it was keeping good communication, keeping good notes and a good schedule, so that we weren't missing anybody, nobody was falling through the cracks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it clearly can be overwhelming.
Other thing he's doing, Master Oliver, that I don't like to hear him keep referring to the 2 weeks. Okay, your next class, you're going to start your 2 weeks. No, their 2 weeks starts from their first class, and I don't even have to say it. I'm telling them they're coming in for their first lesson, and we schedule them for their first lesson, which is the orientation, which is that first semi-private class. And they have 2 weeks from that, but I don't even have to say that. All I need to do is schedule the next class, prep them for that next class, that next time you come, you're going to get a chance to do a real class. Most of our parents know after that class if they like it, if it's a good fit, if they see the benefits of our program and we think it's a good fit, we'll sit down and go over the program and how to get started if you want to continue. We do have a special running right now, so I will go over that with you the next time when you come. And now before I even said that, I've already rescheduled everybody for that next class. And then I follow it with that. You follow me?
Yeah.
Now, when they come, they know that you're there to talk to them. They know they're going to be in a regular class. They know they're going to get a chance to see what the real class is like, and if they like it, and if they want to continue learning the martial arts and those benefits. We do have a special, and of course that special is if you enroll today, we don't ever give them all of their down payment or initial payment down. What we do is we say that the normal, and some people say 400, some say 500, some say 600. And if you do it today, you get half off. So you'll save, you know, if it's 500, you'll save 250, or if it's 600, you'll save 300 by doing it today. So the idea.
Well, to clarify, Master Smith, you're prepping them on that after the first lesson to come back ready to enroll at the second lesson as well, right? So that's not being sprung on them, right?
Right.
Since you came from whatever that event was called, what we'll do is we'll sit down, go through the, you know, the program, do an evaluation, and finalize the enrollment. If you go ahead and do that next time, you'll get a $300 discount on the initial fee, and right.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Prep them a little bit more, and then at the second one, sell them.
One key point Master Smith just said, and Master Oliver's implying there, is that the initial needs to be big enough. If your initial is only $100 normally, then you don't have enough of an incentive.
Right. Right. Well, that's based upon, you know, your conference is going to be as normally $800 initially. If you're going to finalize the enrollment today, we give you a $400 discount. So it's just $400 initially, and then the first month. It's based upon that language pattern.
Okay.
But again, David, this is something that, you know, for everybody's benefit, October is a great time to find all kinds of events like that. And then we also have, you know, big movie theater type of events that are coming up in October, November, and December. Like this weekend is the Joker movie, but a lot of the big blockbusters come out in November, December. But around Harvest and Halloween, there's so many different things that are going on that, you know, the biggest problem any of you should have is figuring out how to staff 7 things at once, not finding things to do, right? David, was that exciting to generate 50 intros in a week?
Yeah, it was. It was really good, and I'm scheduled for another event in October at the schools. I think in 2 weeks.
Good.
So I'll tweak it a little bit. I'm gonna make some notes on how to get more of them enrolled and everything on what you've been talking about, and I think this one will go even smoother than the last one.
Sure. Well, but now you have your hands full to enroll these 50 people, so you really want to make sure you have them all scheduled for a time with both parents where they're prepped, and just sit down and enroll them. And your ratios are already great so far. The typically you'll have 50% up to maybe a max of 75, 80% of those people who come in for an intro that you can convert to a normal student. So really make sure you're on top of it and don't let those people slip through the cracks.
Okay.
Master Smith, on the fall here for October, why don't I give you a few minutes to talk about some of the different events and activities that are available and really get everybody prepped to make sure we have big results for October.
Well, everybody knows Halloween is.
And I'm going to mute it out for a second, so I'm be right back.
Okay. The reason we like October, number one, and our biggest thing that we're always building for is our annual Halloween party. And the Halloween party is a big costume party, and all of the students bring a friend. They get to dress up. We have special awards for different costumes, and best costume, scariest costume, most original, best family costume, because we'll have people that have like the Star Wars thing with the mom and the dad and the kids and different things like that. It's a potluck dinner. What we like about that is that it develops a lot of rapport with your student base. The other thing I like is that they bring their friends, invite their friends. All the friends that come have signed up ahead of time. We do karate games. We do all kinds of fun activities besides the costume awards and things. And everybody that came gets 2 weeks free in a uniform. So we'll set them up for their first class. So it's also a buddy event, but just as important, we call it a retention event because the people that are there, you start bonding with the parents and interacting with other parents. So everybody gets to know everybody a lot better. You know, in Washington, D.C. area, we're a real international city. So we have a lot of dishes that people bring from their countries, and we have sign-up sheets for that. So we have one sheet where we list and they write down main dish, side dish, dessert. We take care of all the drinks. And so that way, you know, you have enough food. We ask everybody, you know, bring a dish from your country so people get to sample it, so they don't just buy, you know, sandwiches from Subway or something. So we try to make it, you know, something that's a little more eventful. And with the games and everything, and the reason I call it a retention thing is because when the kids are having fun at martial arts, every month you need to be doing some activity that is developing retention. I always like to combine that with them bringing a friend. So it's some kind of special event that's going to keep them excited or get them excited. It could be a board breaking something. It could be a foam nunchuck seminar or something, but some fun activity. You know, during the summer, we always do our annual picnic. And then during the holidays, Christmas, we have to be politically correct now, we have our holiday party. So each month, you know, gear around some special event that your students can bring a friend. So we get new referrals, plus we're going to have fun and develop retention. The other good thing about Halloween is there's a lot of our schools have had real big success with what's called trunk or treat. And in the trunk or treat, that a lot of the churches or different organizations have these, some shopping centers will do it in their parking lot. So whatever it is, but whatever you have Halloween type activities, make sure you're there so you can participate in that. We always also gear up for our students. We have our little Halloween treat that has 2 weeks in a uniform with a piece of candy adhered to it, either stapled or taped on. And we'll ask a parent how many trick-or-treaters they have come to their house. And if they say 20 or 30 or 40 or whatever they do, we'll give them a bag with that many of those in there so they can hand out to their trick-or-treaters in their neighborhood. So now we have our students, all of them, handing out 10 to 30 or 40 special treats and a special invite for them. Those are some of the big things, but there's also kind of Halloween activities and parties going on. There's a lot of charity events still going on. You know, it seems to be one of the fun things, and I think Colby, you might have been the first one to actually start on that, was the marathon you did. Well, a lot of charities do those, what are called fun run or 10Ks, and some of them make it a longer and a shorter version. But when you did your, was it a marathon and a 10K? How was that, Colby?
Yeah, well, they have a kids marathon, kids event, whatever. So it's like a 2K or something like that, or 5K, and then they have the full marathon, 26 mile. But they have the day before, it's all vending, and so a lot of local businesses or whatever are having booths, and so that was our part of it. And we also did like gift bags, so like 4,500 VIP passes with like temporary tattoos stuff goes in that bag as a gift to all the runners.
That was good. And when you had your booth set up, you had do you remember how many leads you got from that and appointments and all that? Or do I need to remind you?
I think it was like 150 leads, if I remember right. Something like 150, 200 leads we got from it. We ended up with like 150 appointments, so it must have been more than that. It must have been like 200.
Right. Yeah, it was about 200. And you had 150 appointments, and then enrollments off of that. Do you remember how many enrollments you had?
Yeah, I think we had 50.
Okay. Yeah, 54.
We talked about that earlier.
But you know what everybody has to understand about these new enrollments, especially for our new members, you have to realize the new people coming in is the future of your school. Those are the ones that are coming in at the higher price point, so they're worth at least $200 a piece. Not the old 99, 129, 149, and Colby knows what I'm talking about. When you get them at least at that 200, now some of our members, even the new ones, are charging 247. Master Oliver this year recommended everybody go to 297, and several did it and have had good results with it. But I always tell everybody, you got to charge the price you feel comfortable with, because you're the one that has to sell it. And the more of the character stuff that you overlay into it, the better that's going to be. But the real advantage of his enrollments wasn't just that he got 50 new students, because that generated for him about 10,000 extra monthly income, which is also a big boost for 1 month, right? Not even counting the down payment or initial investment part, but just that, 50 people paying $200 a month. Well, then these people being at the new price point, and Colby being on the new pre-framing everybody, because what you'll find, especially for our new members, it's easier to pre-frame than to reframe. In other words, the ones that were locked into that old price, it's harder to get them to buy into the new prices. You can do it, and it will eventually happen, but it takes a little more. That's why I call that reframing. So which means you have to pre-frame them a little longer. But the new ones coming in 2 to 4 months at the most, they're pre-framed enough coming in at the new price point that you can renew them. So tell us what happened when you then did your renewal blitz in December, and which you got a lot of these new people, plus some of the other ones that you were reframing. What happened in December with all these new October enrollments?
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? We think about the new students, right? We're getting filling new students like Master Oliver says all the time, right? Nothing 100 new students would fix, but a lot of times we're short-sighted, and I know I most certainly was at that time for sure. I was focused so much on that beginning, but I wasn't even looking at the big picture. I didn't even realize what was going to happen in December, right? So what we did in October, I didn't even dawn on me, really, to be honest. I know it sounds stupid now, but I didn't have any idea what was going to happen in December. That was going to turn into $200,000 in 1 month. I was just focused on, let's get these students enrolled, let's get them there, and work the plan. And
most people thought you misstated the number, but that was the actual number. He did over 200,000 cash in that month with all of those people, because so think about any month when you have a big enrollment, whether it's 20 to 50. Jan had in September last year had 120 new enrollments in 6 weeks. I think this year she said, when we talked to her last, was it 80 or so already from September, from her back to school stuff. So October is the one where they'll have these, and I call them fall events. Sometimes they're fall fairs. Sometimes they have the cabbage the patch, or they have the mazes, hay rides, and all those kind of festive Halloween fall events that are going on the weekends during October. So you got to really put your head into it and really get some things set up, get your internal things going really well. But look at the big picture, because when Master Oliver says there's nothing 100 new students won't cure any problem, well, like Colby only did 50. Well, he had no idea at that time, because he was just getting into the renewal stuff and starting to pre-frame, and I had just been at the school around that time, and we started gearing up for the renewal blitzing, and he did our full-blown renewal blitz, and bunch of these new people were the ones that are the ones that renewed. He still had some of his old people renew, but it ended up where you have to realize how much is a renewal worth compared to how much an enrollment is worth. You know, an enrollment, they're going to spend $200 to $300 a month. So they're, you know, you're looking at, you know, around $3,000 they're going to pay for a year.
Yeah.
But look at us.
Yeah.
Without us going too far down that path, as we,
I was going to mention something on marketing for October, sir, too.
go ahead.
Going along with what Master Smith was saying. The events and things that are happening in October are just astronomical. I did my morning Wednesday. We did a meeting with our staff, and I was telling Master Samwar she had 5 events scheduled for October, which was great. I said, you know, there's so many things happening. She listed them off, and I said, you're working with a whole bunch of other schools. You should have at least 5 more events. And I was kind of just throwing the number out there like crazy. And then that night I went to our high rank workout that I do once a month with these guys. So I went to it and she goes, oh, I got 4 more events scheduled. So now she's got 9 events. I kind of just challenged her out of the blue, you know, and it really is almost crazy easy. You do a search on Halloween and your zip code, and there's just a boatload of things. And by the way, you know, if I ever tell you numbers, you know, with that school, with the number of things, the Cave Creek School, I mean, Amanda Olson, she's not on the call, but she's been up there. The population density there is not very good. I mean, I kind of kept that school out of the ones that many I had in that area for a few reasons, but that population density, the income level is decent, not super high, but the population density isn't very good. It's up in the mountains. Near Phoenix. So it's not super dense. So it's not a lot of events because there's a million people there. It's not like Manhattan or LA or the middle of Phoenix even. So if she can get 9 events, in fact, she said that this morning when we had our meeting, when she listed the events that she had for me, anybody can. So it's very, very easy to get a lot of things going in October. And that leads into other stuff that we can do in November and December. So what Master Smith is saying is exactly right. I mean, it's so easy to find this stuff and get some stuff going.
Yeah, yeah. So and again, we want to, on the marketing side, build the Parthenon, right? So we want to have strong family add-on systems, strong referral systems, internal events and so forth. We want to have strong online presence, Google, pay-per-click, SEO, Facebook, etc. We want to have a really good visible presence in the community. We want to have really good community outreach, Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, local companies, etc. And we want to have these live events in good shape, and we can go on and on. Public relations, PR. But the surest way to a grand slam, a way that you can get 50 intros in a week like Brad just did, or David, I'm sorry, David, like David just did, the way you can get 54 enrollments in a week, like Colby was talking about at a marathon, is with these big live events. The conversion ratios, again, should be 75 or 80% of the people that you talk to make appointments on the spot. Half or more, sometimes as many, David, you've done as good a job as I've heard, I think, but sometimes as many as 80, 90% show up. But worst case, half or a little more show up for the intro. And then you should have half or more of those that show up for the intro enroll. And again, reviewing, you know, Colby's numbers there, is it was 80% made appointment. Well, it was 180 leads, 150 appointments, tick under 100 showed up. So at every stage, there's about 2/3 showing up.
His numbers were right on our average. I mean, he really did an amazing job.
Yeah. But we see those numbers over and over and over again, Ken, at the movie theaters and other live events. What you'll be seeing is you'll see a lot of the Mile High schools. I want to remind everybody, though, it's really important, if it's at all possible, to be here for the Quick Start meeting, which is in less than 2 weeks. So it's going to be on the 18th, 19th, and 20th. Format's a little different this time because on Saturday the 19th, we're going to go behind the scenes at a Mile High Karate intramural tournament. We'll give you all the details on that, but it starts about 8:30 and we'll be there until about 1 o'clock. Then we're going to go have lunch. Then we're going to go to a big harvest festival that they have up there, which is one of the biggest live events that our Westminster location has each year, and watch them and see how their booth looks and see how their setup is going and really walk through the paces. On Friday the 18th and on Sunday the 20th, we'll be here at my home in Evergreen, Colorado, and we're going to cover just the A to Z of how to add 100 new students and make sure that you're doing that at the right price point. That makes sense?
Re-emphasize, Master Oliver, because I really, you know, for the people that have been to the live events, you know, they all tell me the same thing. It accelerated their growth so much quicker because they were able to see things in action. They were able to talk to other school owners, hear the things we're saying. We get a chance to answer specific questions that pertain to your school. I mean, it really is, it's not worth, I'm not saying it's 1-to-1 return. It's like a 20 to return and even more on your investment of what you're doing on your time and money. So you really can't miss out on that. Now, I know there was a couple people that had, you know, things they couldn't, that were already preset. And if that's the case, you know, that has to go. But you'll be much better off getting here this time and as a worst case scenario, the next one.
Yeah. And just for everybody's calendar, and I'll post an RSVP form for this and we'll mail it out and everything else here this week. But the next one is in January. It's going to be on the 24th and 25th of January. So plan on that one if you can't make it. The other big event that we have coming up for our Mastery and Leadership members is behind the scenes at the Black Belt Test in Estes Park. And so we're going to be all day on Friday of that weekend at the Stanley Hotel, which was made famous by the movie The Shining, or the book The Shining. It was the inspiration for Stephen King's book, and then 2 movies. Well, I guess 3 movies. There's a sequel coming out here this month. So it'll be the 8th, 9th, and 10th. And then the rest of it is at the YMCA camp in Estes Park for the Black Belt retreat. The other thing on the Quick Start meeting is make sure you come in on Thursday, because we're going to be doing a behind the scenes at the Mile High Karate School in Thornton, Colorado. So you'll get a chance to see classroom operations, structure, ID cards, all of that kind of stuff. David, make me a promise that you're going to stay on top of these intros and do 25 enrollments this week.
Yeah, I promise I'm going to follow up with everybody and we're going to get them.
Good, good. What price point are you doing for these enrollments?
$199 a month for the basic program.
Okay. 198 is what you said?
$199.
199. Okay. Well, so with this flush, stick with that, and then once you've gotten that burst, we'll get you into the 247 range.
Okay.
Okay. I wouldn't try to change while you're overwhelmed with volume, but next time around we'll add to that.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. How much are you asking for initially?
I'm doing $199 down and then $199 for the first month, so $398 for the initial.
Okay. Yeah. The one thing I might change would be I would make the presentation, it's normally $400 or $600 and we give you a $300 discount, but I would make it a round number so that you're like not adding $199 and $199. Just as a sales process, anytime they get a little confused and they start trying to add it in their head, is it puts up a little bit of a barrier. So I would rather say 200 initially plus 199. So it's 399. So it just simplifies and smooths things a little bit.
Right.
And if you want 200 down, then you've got to say it's regularly 400, but with our intro special, because you came from this, if you do it today, you get half off. So that's going to save you $200. Now that gives them a big savings on that, but you're still getting the same thing you were asking for.
Okay.
Yeah. That just a minor tweak, but it helps. Well, good. Before we call it a day, anybody have any other questions, or has that been? Hopefully, this has been helpful.
I just wanted to say how good Paul's new haircut looks. Don't have to worry about combing that anymore.
That's right. Thank you, sir.
Can you and Master Moody and Paul actually call that a haircut?
Yeah. What do you mean, Master Moody?
What are you talking about? Why are you insulting? This is double insult on hair day for you.
But it adds to simplicity.
You want to start hair wars? Okay.
No, not particularly. Okay. Any questions before we call it a day? We spent quite a bit of time on the info call. I hope that was such redundant information that you've got it massively nailed already. But I will point out, have somebody you don't know call and do some recordings of your staff, and you too, by the way. What I always did with our staff meetings is periodically I would have somebody whose voice wasn't going to be recognized call through everybody and record it, and then we would play it at the meetings. And sometimes it was great. A lot of times it was embarrassing for them. But it's useful to see how things are being handled all the way through. You really want to go through and make sure you're on top of that.
If they're really scared, they could send me their phone number for their.
Yeah. Well, Bob would be happy. Bob would be happy to call through and record it for you as well. I mean, that is something that's useful. I will tell you, by the way, our experience is most martial arts schools just don't answer their phone. And it doesn't matter how good you are at marketing if they're reaching out to you, if somebody doesn't answer the phone in a timely manner.
Especially if you're putting out bandit signs and rack cards and that kind of stuff, you're doing internet stuff. The people will call your school. If you're doing direct mail stuff, they're going to be calling your school. And I like what Master Moody said. I always made every one of our phones, there was a clipboard there with our info call sheet, and they would start filling it out with that person's name and their information as they asked the questions. And when I practiced with the staff, I also made them do the same thing. They could do it, but they had to do it with the script. I'd let them have it, the clipboard right in front of them, and they had to make it sound like they weren't reading it.
Well, we're going to cover a lot of that on Thursday, so we're going to get into a lot of detail on Thursday with that.
Yeah, and I'll give you a brief story about that. I had both the 8.5 by 11 piece that was on clipboards, but then I did like little pads where it was just an outline of the script, but the pad had place for name, address, and phone number. And one of the conversations I had was my good friend Tim and Dave Kovar in Sacramento, and their numbers were completely out of control. They had no idea what was going on. They had one location that was like 13,000 square feet, and it was phones everywhere, and kind of there's a ringing phone. Whoever was near the phone answered. It was a complete disaster. But one of the things I got them to do was put those little wall folders, whether they're plastic and you can mount them on the wall where things can go in there. And I got them to put that at every phone. And then I did the padded little info call pad where it was the script, had them laminate and put the script on the wall at every phone, had them do the little pads. Every little folder had the little pad in it. And then what they would do is they'd fill out the pad and put it in there. And then at the end of the night, somebody would go and collect them all from all of the little files, like 12 or 14 of them or something. And what it did is we had to train the staff that if somebody called and they didn't get an appointment, to at least mark down call and they called from Valpak, or call first name Joe, whatever it was, to put at least some information, so that then in the stats we knew we had 32 calls and 18 appointments, and really it was about that bad at the time. But at least they knew what advertising was working, and then they could keep track of that, and we could track it. So whatever it is, you've got to figure out a way that calls don't slip through the cracks unaccounted for when staff, or even yourself, but when somebody else is taking the calls. I got to tell you, an awful lot of them come through where they never get recorded. And, you know, people can rationalize all kinds of reasons not to. Well, they weren't really serious, or that was a crank call. Or, no, you got to keep track of everyone, because you're wanting to know what advertising is working. You also have to know that you've got a 90% close or a 50% close or whatever it is, because you can't fix what you don't know. Does that make sense? Well, on that, I hope you booked for the Quick Start meeting. It's going to be extremely valuable, and we'll call it a day and be back at it next Thursday. Any questions you have, post in the Facebook group. And as I was talking earlier to somebody, our biggest challenge, guys, Greg, our biggest challenge is getting enough feedback, enough information from you guys to know what's going on. Be posting every day in that Facebook group, and be keeping really good stats, so we're tracking and following up and giving you appropriate feedback. So have a great day, and we'll call it a day.
All right, sir. We'll see you later.
Thank you.